I don't understand why you text me when we aren't in... What's that?
I need some advice.
Where did they come from?
Honey, I Shrunk the Kids them.
The sequel?
Are they small, Ryan? Obviously the sequel. Now, like I said, I need some advice.
Okay.
2 things. 1, are those too big?
That's not advice.
Thing 2, can you make that stop?
Also not advice. He's alive.
There must have been some magic in that old hat I found.
And you placed it on its head?
He started walking and and following me. Have you seen It Follows?
Yeah.
It's like that, but without the sex. That wasn't helpful.
We've been toying around with Polycam a lot over the last few months, and none of us model, so it's been a great way to get somewhat custom models for whatever we want, or, as in the case of today's episode, inspiration, since it was after seeing these decorations at my house that I got the idea. But if you haven't seen our previous episodes, what is Polycam? But before I answer that, our holiday sale is almost over, so jump over to tryingdigital.com to get 50% off of all of our filmmaker assets if you're looking for that sort of thing. Link below. But long story short, Polycam is an app you can use to get solid photo scans of whatever you want. Like with this episode, that giant snowman actually looks like this right here. I scanned this little dude along with all the others with Polycam. To do that, I'm going into photo mode and manual, then moving around the object from a middle position, then around again high and again low, giving the app enough data to construct that 3D model. I also lucked out on the day that I was scanning with full overcast, so it was perfect conditions to grab these scans, since you really want as flat and even of lighting as you can possibly get. But after I got my scans, I checked my photos to make sure that everything is solid, nothing's blurry or off, then I let the app do its processing. After that, I can download and use these however I'd like, which in this case is sending off to our VFX artist Ryan Thompson. In the other episodes, we have used these in Cinema 4D and Blender, so this time we wanted to see how Element 3D inside of After Effects would handle it. And since we're going with After Effects only, that means no cleanup of the models at all. So what you saw in the opener are the models right out of the app with no touch-ups at all. And speaking of other episodes and Polycam, 2 weeks ago we put out our AI tools for filmmakers, and after that I found this great new AI generator that Polycam put out recently. Instead of generating regular images, it uses AI to generate textures, and it's free to use, so go give that a try too, link down there. But with our scans done, we shot our scene and handed it off to Thompson, and we're going to start the first shot looking at the line of decorations. Inside of After Effects, we'll drop our clean plate of the tilt shot into a new comp, as well as one of our HDRIs, and we'll switch off its visibility. Now, right-click the footage, then go to Track and Stabilize and Track Camera. Once that's complete, choose a point and right-click, create Null and Camera. And again, we are using Element 3D for all of our models this time, so create a new solid and apply Element. In the Custom Layers, Custom Texture Map drop-down, we'll select our HDRI, then open Element and change the environment texture to use our custom layer 1 HDRI, then create a plane model. We'll normalize size and really scale it up to cover a wide area, and this will act as our ground. In the physical materials, apply the matte shadow to the plane. Now we'll import a scanned model, and again, we'll normalize size and we'll change alignment to the bottom. This will place the anchor point at the base of the model. Now using the rotate tool, we can hold the shift key while clicking and drag, turning it 90 degrees to face forward, then reposition it more to the center. This is also looking pretty glossy at the moment, so to fix, we can change the surface option to auto normals. However, if you do want to add gloss, you can go into the materials settings and change the gloss slider here. We then imported each model and went through the same process, and you could check auto normals on import to save time. We could arrange their layouts here inside of Element, but what we opted to do for this project is actually have a different layer for each model and arrange them in our comp. So we'll disable the visibility for all but one of the models and exit. In our comp, we will rename the solid to match with the visible model. Then in the world transform dropdown, we will change the position, scale, and rotation to line it up in our scene how we like. In the render settings under lighting, change the brightness to 0, and in the physical environment, we can alter some of these settings too. You can also change rotation if needed. Then we'll enable ambient occlusion and boost the intensity slightly. Next, to match our footage, we'll use a tint effect to lower the saturation a bit and use a curves effect to drop the highlights. Lift the shadows and alter the blue and green channels slightly to match our plate. Lastly, a fast box blur effect and noise effect set to low amounts help take away that harsh sharpness. Now we'll create a point light, move it off to the top left, and lower the intensity just to add some more dimension. For the other models, we can duplicate this layer, jump back into Element to change which model is visible, and rename the layer to match. Change the world position, scale, and rotation again to line up the model how you like, and we did this for each one to fill out the scene. For this house, we decided to create a new solid layer and make it 3D, position this over the house, and use it as an alpha matte using the pen tool to draw over the base and feather slightly. Using turbulent displace, you can set it to vertical displacement, lower size, and boost the amount and complexity to give a quick bladed grass look to the masked edge. Now we'll drop in the footage of me and Josh, draw a rough mask around us and feather, then keyframe to move when the camera tilts. Using key light will key us out, increase the screen softness since we're a bit out of focus, giving us this. It was pretty much the same exact process again for the panning shot, tracking the footage, then copying and pasting each model to the new comp. If your models are appearing dark like this, you just need to re-add the HDRI to the custom texture map and it'll update. Because the 3D camera track that was created for this shot is a different camera from the previous comp, it means altering our element, world, position, rotation, and scale again to realign. But if any of you know a better way to match frames with different 3D cameras, we are always looking for better methods, so let us know in the comments. For the walking snowman, we'll begin with this wide shot, dropping the footage into a new comp, copy and paste one of the element layers from another comp, re-add the HDRI, and here we are using a second one that we took closer to the building. Now select the 3D model inside of element, but this time create a new group and change it to 2. Then move the model into this group so that we have it separate from the ground plane in group 1. For this shot, we can create a new camera ourselves and use this to line up our model. In the group 2 dropdown, create a group null. This will control our model and we can animate it for the walk. We did have a specific idea of how we wanted it to walk, so we can keyframe the null's rotation value with it leaning one way first, then move forward a few frames and change the rotation value to lean in the opposite direction. And now we're going to copy paste these keyframes throughout the timeline. Next, keyframe the position for where we want it to start, and now you could just go to the end of the timeline and move him forward, but that would be a constant position change and it'll look more like it's gliding rather than stepping. So instead, we need to move forward a bit, adding a keyframe just before the rotation keyframes, then copy and paste this a couple of frames later so that the position stays static. Then we're going to move forward a bit again. We repeat this for each step throughout the shot, and we found it best to always move forward in a value of 30 to keep it consistent. You can then select all the keys and easy ease them. For the ground shadow, we change the ambient occlusion value slightly, and you can use another curves effect, changing the alpha channel to get a bit more control over the density, strength, and spread of the shadow. Then we'll just tweak some of our colors, paste the point light in, and enable motion blur. For this shot, we duplicated the wide comp, dropped in the new footage, and moved our camera around to line up, once again altering the color, and this time using a camera lens blur instead of the fast blur to knock it out of focus. But jumping back to the pan shot, we will copy and paste the walking model and null, but again, because of the 3D camera track, we will need to use the element world transform to place it correctly into the shot. Since this is a much longer shot, we had to extend the animation keyframes quite a bit to fill out the timeline. And then we decided that we should have the snowman turning and looking at us as it walks by. To do this, in group 2, drop down, particle look, deform, twist, check enable, and changing the Y value will have him turn toward us. We did a similar thing in our Godzilla episode to add some simple animation. It's quite a handy thing for shots like this without needing any rigging. So keyframe at 0, then move forward and add twist. We moved a few more frames forward and added another keyframe to hold it for a bit before moving forward again and changing it back to 0 to have him turn away again. Once again, we keyframed a mask around me and Josh and keyed us both. We were shot on separate plates this time to make sure the green screen had wide enough coverage. Then we enabled motion blur, made any final color and shadow tweaks, and we were done. Element definitely doesn't give us the control of Cinema 4D or Blender. You definitely need to twist more digital arms to get it there, but I am impressed on how well it did overall. Again, we made all of our models in this episode with Polycam. It's insanely cool, and you can get 20% off an annual subscription right now, so check that in the notes below, along with our other Polycam episodes. But until next time, don't forget to write, shoot, edit, repeat, and have a very happy holidays.